What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com. Welcome to our Preakness recap video. We'll put a bow on the Preakness Stakes at Laurel Park. I'm just going to put the chart up on the screen now. We'll just kind of talk over what went down here, as it was Napoleon Solo who's able to get the job done in what was a very, very impressive race from him. All right, let's talk about it. We'll just go at the top and we'll work our way down, and we'll talk about the trip for Napoleon Solo. Certainly did not go slow early in this race, and Taj Mahal made sure of that. So Taj Mahal goes out to a 22.66 opening quarter, 46.66 to the half, and he was really moving. But Napoleon Solo was sitting right off of him, a length and a half or a length behind us at different times. Very impressive that he was able to sit off the lead this time. He saw his other races. It felt like he was kind of headstrong or just kind of wanted that lead, got to that lead. This time he was able to sit off and relax, and that was the winning move in this one. He was just kind of out a little bit wide. Paco Lopez, the jockey, kind of kept him away from Taj Mahal into that first turn. Napoleon Solo was pretty wide, and I was kind of like, I wonder what's going on there. He went kind of wide, but, breaking from the 10 hole, and they didn't rush him up. And so that's what happened. And he kind of just kept him away from Taj Mahal and kind of let Napoleon Solo kind of just do his own thing. So yes, he was tracking a pretty fast pace. However, he wasn't really, engaged with Taj Mahal. He was kind of just outside and kind of just keeping away from him and kind of just running his own race. And what I feel kind of happened is he kind of became the true pace setter. They kind of just decided, hey, let Taj Mahal do his thing. And, hopefully I imagine they were thinking he'll come back to us a little bit. And when he does, we'll take over, and it'll be like we've kind of set the early pace. And so that worked. It worked great. And Paco Lopez deserves a lot of credit for getting this horse to get the job done. And then at the top of the stretch, you saw it. He took over. Challenge was coming from Iron Honor. That was about the only challenge that was happening at the top of the stretch. And it looked for a second that Iron Honor was going to take over, but Napoleon Solo found more, had more left in the tank, got over to the rail, and was able to get the job done by a length and a quarter. So you got to give him a ton of credit, even though, he was kind of away from Taj Mahal. Napoleon Solo was still running pretty fast early in this race, and just was able to take over. So the way to keep going there for Napoleon Solo, I thought that was very impressive. The second place finisher, Iron Honor, I thought he got a really nice trip here. I think the blinkers off really helped this horse. I thought he relaxed a lot better early in the race. And you kind of go down here, he was 6th, 5th. I mean, he was kind of in the middle of the pack, but you kind of look, he was sitting 4.5, 2.5 lengths off. So, he wasn't, if you watch him in the wood, he was pulling towards the front. He was trying to challenge. I thought he was a little bit more relaxed here. I thought it was a really nice trip for him. Flavian Pratt, I don't know what the absolute plan was really with this horse. So I don't know ultimately where they kind of wanted him to fall, but kind of how Chad Brown was describing it earlier in the week, kind of not chasing that pace is what they wanted. And I that's kind of what he did. He didn't really chase. Now he did have to go wide on that last turn. Maybe that took a little bit out of him, but still to finish second, only beating a length and a quarter here after what was, just not a very good Wood Memorial. Let's just be clear. He didn't have it. He was on the outside and chasing that day. I thought he looked pretty good here. I think he was tired down the lane. I don't think he is, a great horse, and maybe a mile and 3/16 was a little too long for him, but still, I thought he ran admirably. And at the top of the stretch, I thought he was going to win. He just couldn't quite, catch Napoleon Solo, who had more left in the tank. But I thought Iron Honor ran a really good race. I thought Chip Poncho, the third place finisher, did his job as well. He was sitting right there with Iron Honor, about a half length ahead of him for most of the time until Iron Honor kind of passed him and was able to almost get the jump on him there. But, he was right there. He's just a grinding type of horse. I thought it was a good trip for him, a good ride by Jose Ortiz, just a grinder. And he's just going to keep going. He doesn't have that huge acceleration. I think Chip Poncho, you're going to see him be really tough when it's a pace where he can get the lead. And this pace was not. Like, it was never going to set up that Chip Poncho was going to get the lead or even get in that Napoleon Solo spot where he sits, second, and if there's a real fast horse out front. So, but again, I thought he sat a really nice trip. and he just kind of kept on. But you could just kind of see, and it's the same thing we've seen from Chip Honcho in his other races. He doesn't have that next burst, right? And that's the big thing. It's like when you turn for home, he hangs in there. He's not backing up, but he didn't have that burst. He's just a grinder, and that's why ultimately, if you could get him on the lead, running that grinding type of style, he's hard to pass. And so, but he's not really going to catch a lot of horses either. But I thought he ran really well. I thought both Iron Honor and Chip Honcho both really rebounded from some poor efforts leading up to this, and I think. Napoleon Solo as well. A couple of poor efforts this year. Had excuses really on both of them, though. And I thought all three of these horses really rebounded. And look, I don't think any of these horses are going to be the 3-year-old of the year, but I don't think these top three are that bad. I think they had bad races leading up to the Kentucky Derby, or, before the Kentucky Derby, now up to the Preakness, but I think they're decent. And I think they're better than what they showed in their last race before this one. And I think, they were able to prove it. So a good performance, I would say, by the top three. I thought the top three ran just fine for who they are. The fourth horse, Oselli. And look, I thought as fast as Taj Mahal was going, and it felt like Napoleon Solo was going pretty fast as well, I thought it was going to set up pretty well for Oselli. And, he made a move. He was back towards the back, and he ends up running fourth here, but just, not really ever in any, threat to the winners, or to the top three, for that matter here. And finished about 3 lengths behind the third place horse here, Chip Honcho. And again, I thought he ran okay. I don't think it was a bad effort from him. I just, he just wasn't really in the picture until late, and he came with that late run. So the pace, even though it was hot, other than Taj Mahal, kind of they stuck around that kind of front running pack for the most part. That's where it was coming from, those top 5 or 6 horses. Oselli runs up into fourth. Incredible runs pretty much like Oselli, drops way back, makes one run, gets fifth. Again, not pretty disappointing, really, when you look at this. The 6th place horse, Bull by the Horns, another one, drop back, try to make a run, and it's like the closers all were 1, 2, 3. Those closers in the Derby were here. They were 4, 5, 6, 7, because the Hell We Did, who was 7th in this race, kind of did the same thing. They were all towards the back. I think, honestly, the jockeys probably thought, hey, it's setting up pretty well for us. Here we go. And then they didn't come back to him at all. Other than, like, say, Taj Mahal. He did. We'll talk about him in a second. These other ones just didn't come back to him, and they were just late on to the scene. Another horse that was late onto the scene is Great White. He kind of got stuck in no man's land. When we talk about Great White here, he had a really, to me, impossible task. He draws the 13. He's a horse that needs to be forward, in my opinion, but not on the lead. Like the last race on the lead. No, that's not what he wants, but he needs to be at least mid-pack. He didn't get out of the gate all that well. He was wide. He was kind of hung in no man's land a little bit of like, do you send him a little bit further up there? Do you try to drop him back? I would draw a line through this one for him. I didn't love him coming into this race, but I also was like, man, that's a bad post for that horse. And I think he'll run better. I would not give up on him. He kind of, it's just a draw line through it to me. He was out in no man's land. Robusta, I mean, it's time to, come on, like, what are we doing? It's time to drop him down to something where he can compete. He was up there kind of in that middle, in that pack of horses that, ran 1, 2, 3 in this, but he had nothing when the real running began. Taj Mahal, he did go off as a favorite. He was a very popular horse. And look, it was one of those situations. I don't really know why he went that fast. If you look at the chart, he was 2 lengths ahead at the quarter pole, and at the half mile pole, he's a length ahead. So, if the goal was to get the lead, congratulations. But boy, they just went he specifically went way too fast. Go up here to the fractions again. He went 22.66 to the quarter, 46.66 to the half, and he just slows down every quarter. And obviously you're going to do that when you run 22.66 opening quarter at Laurel Park. You are screwed. And he was just going extremely too fast. I don't know, maybe the jock sent him, maybe he was just keyed up, but it was just a totally different trip than he had been getting. And that was the fear going in. Now, I kind of thought going in, if you watched throughout the week, I thought it would be more of a he's going to have to be behind horses for the first time in a while, and how will he react to that? I think he would have been a lot better off if they would have tried that, because if you just cannot go that fast and be able to hold on. So kind of a draw line through it for me too. I don't think we learned a lot about him here. I would have loved to see him not go that fast early and then see how he reacts to kind of maybe changing tactics versus just blazing out there. I gave him no chance. So I was against Taj Mahal, but I kind of exit that race and go, well, I don't know if I was right or wrong, really, because that was just kind of a suicide mission that they sent him on. I wouldn't give up on him. I still am skeptical that he's up to the level of some of these horses, like the grade 1 types, but I wouldn't totally give up on Taj Mahal. It was just, you're never doing anything with that trip. Corona de Oro finished behind Taj Mahal here in 11th, and he's another one. He drew outside. He didn't really get the spot. He needs to go towards the front. He didn't get there. It was never there. He was 4 and 5 wide the whole way. It was a disaster. Speaking of disasters, and speaking of a horse that kind of got the trip that the winner, second, third place finishers got up in that first group, that's Talking. One of the worst picks I've ever made, if not the worst pick I've ever made. And look, I thought he would come from out of it, but at the same time, he was in the spot where the winners or the winner, second, third place finishers finished. So ultimately he was in a good spot and he had no run whatsoever. He got 12th in this race. Trainer Danny Gargan did say he had a pretty bad gash on his leg, but he didn't think that, that's something that's going to affect him moving forward. Maybe it affected him in that race. He did stop pretty badly, and he just had nothing. And again, I kind of viewed him to be towards the back, but my goodness, he was sitting in a great spot. He was saving all the ground too. So absolutely no excuse. Just a horrific top pick for me here. The horse just didn't do any running. And then finally Crupper and Pretty Boy Maya. With Crupper, he's a cut below. We knew that. He dropped back and had nothing. He's a horse that likes to be forwardly placed, and like Corona de Oro, like Great White, just didn't get the spot right. Just got outran to it. Pretty Boy Maya, this was too much too quick. We knew that. He got eased out of this race. He was never really a factor. So that's the 14 of them. And like I said, Napoleon Solo, horse I did not play, and I'm not going to say I'd never considered him, but I just didn't think he could carry that speed a mile and 3/16. So ultimately wasn't ever going to put him on tickets, and was ultimately wrong. Obviously, he ran extremely, extremely well. And you got to give Chad Summers, I think, a ton of credit. I think he deserves just a tremendous, tremendous amount of credit, because you look at Napoleon Solo, he was an electric 2-year-old, right? It's not like we've never liked this horse. There were times early in the year I had him ranked in the top 5 or so, or 2 or 3 even, for the Kentucky Derby, but it just took a while to get him back. And he ran in the Fountain of Youth and he got a poor break, and things didn't work out well. And it just felt like with Chad Summers, he was just kind of chasing with this horse, trying to get him back to his top form. Didn't run horrible in the wood, but wasn't great either, right? And I think you got to give Summers credit. I mean, he got this horse back, and Chad was saying all week long, this horse is going to run his best race. He wasn't saying, hey, that's going to be good enough to win or anything, but he was saying, we're going to see the best out of him. And he was right. And the best version of Napoleon Solo was able to win this race. And again, major credit to those that cashed on him. Major credit to Chad Summers for getting him set and ready to go and ready to run that huge race. So at the end of the day, you hear a lot of people say, oh, it's a bad Preakness or whatever. Doesn't really matter. It all pays the same, and he's still a Preakness winner, and that's what really matters. So good on him. I actually thought, listen, you could say anything you want about the Preakness, and then maybe it was bad or whatever. For a horse to sit off those fractions and win, hey, I'm pretty impressed with Napoleon Solo. I thought it was a pretty good race from him, no doubt. So hats off to the winners. It was a very different Preakness for sure. You kind of miss the fans. I did, at least. I that's kind of the fun thing about the Preakness, is watching all the people in the infield on the telecast. Certainly wouldn't want to be out there myself, but to watch them was fun. So miss that. Ready for that to come back, but good on Napoleon Solo to get the job done there. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Hit that like button if you like it. Subscribe if you really like it. Want to get alerting time we do videos like this. And most importantly, stay tuned to the site for more Triple Crown coverage.